call the City of Columbia Planning Commission meeting for August 10th into session. Welcome Planning Commission members, staff, and guests. Multiple staff members are here today to ensure that the meeting runs smoothly and all applicants and members of the public are able to participate in the meeting at the appropriate times.
If you're here today and would like to speak about a case, please provide your name clearly into the microphone, and please be sure to sign in either at the back of the room or at the podium for documentation purposes. If you're here to speak about a case, you must speak up when the chairperson calls for public comment. And I'll go ahead and call the roll. Mr. Causey?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Ms. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Dinkins?
Here.
Mr. Harp?
Here.
And Mr. Frost.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. I'll give a brief meeting of the overview of the meeting, brief review of the meeting format. Applicants with requests before the Planning Commission are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time should include, but is not limited to, an overview of the project, the case history, and any pertinent meetings held regarding the request. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant, such as attorneys, engineers, and architects. This time limit does not include any questions asked by the Planning Commission or staff regarding the requests. During the public comment period, members of the general public are given the opportunity to address their concerns in intervals of 2 minutes. After the public comment period, applicants have 5 minutes to respond. Once the Planning Commission begins deliberations, no additional comments will be permitted by the applicant or the public. The administrator has a timer and will make presenters aware of when their time has expired. The Planning Commission reserves the right to amend these procedures on a case-by-case basis. Are there any changes to the agenda?
We have had one change since publication. Case number 6, which is on the regular agenda, a zoning map amendment ZMA-2023-0014 for 2401 Gadsden, 701 Chester, and the property next to 701 Chester has been deferred by the applicant. And other than that, the agenda stands.
Thank you. The Planning Commission uses the consent agenda to approve non-controversial or routine matters by a single motion and vote. Examples of such items include approval of site plans, annexations, and street names. If a member of the Planning Commission or the general public wants to discuss an item on the consent agenda, you must speak up after the consent agenda is read. Then that item is removed from the consent agenda and considered during the regular meeting. The Planning Commission then approves the remaining consent agenda items.
Mr. Chairman, prior to voting on consent agenda, I need to recuse myself from case number 3, Annex 2023-0016.
Okay. Mr. Causey's recusal is noted. On agenda item number 3.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read the consent agenda. Item number 1 is to approve the July 13th, 2023 minutes. Item 2 is a future land use map amendment and a zoning map amendment for a pending annexation. This is Annex-2023-0015 at 110 Jacobs Mill Pond Road. Request recommendation on the assignment of land use classification of urban edge residential large lot and the assignment of zoning of residential single-family large lot district for a pending annexation. The property is currently classified as neighborhood medium density and zoned RS-LD by Richland County. Is
anyone here from the public that would like to speak about the 110 Jacobs Mill Pond Road? If so, we will pull that one off the consent agenda and put it on the regular meeting agenda. Hearing none.
The next case is case number 3, Annex-2023 7716 Garners Ferry Road. Request recommendation on the assignment of land use classification of Community Activity Corridor, AC2, and the assignment of zoning of General Commercial District for a pending annexation. The property is currently classified as neighborhood medium density and zoned GC by Richland County.
Is there anyone here from the public that would like to pull this particular case from the consent agenda and place it on regular meeting agenda? No one here to speak about that one? Hearing none, we're good to
Okay.
move.
Case 4 is Annex -2023-0017, 5706 and 5710 Fairfield Road, 602 Oakland Avenue, 721 and 731 Prescott Road, and the property next to 809 and next to 815 Woodside Avenue. Request recommendation on the assignment of land use classifications of Community Activity Corridor, AC2, and Urban Edge Residential Small Lot, and the assignment of zoning of General Commercial District and Mixed Use District, MU1, for a pending annexation. The property is currently classified as mixed residential high density in a community activity center and a priority investment area, and zoned general commercial and residential single family medium density by Richland County.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to speak about the case at Fairfield Road, Oakland, Prescott, and Woodside Avenue? Anyone's here to speak, we will pull that one off the consent and move it to regular. Seeing none? Call for any removal of the items. Is there anyone from Planning Commission that would like to have an item removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular meeting agenda? Hearing none, I will accept a motion for a vote.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve the consent agenda, including the July 13, 2023 minutes and items number 2, 3, and 4 with any staff recommendations.
All right, got a motion to approve the consent agenda as read. Can I get a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? The ayes have it. The motion is approved. We will now move. some other means in and out.
Where does that go, that emergency exit?
That comes back to Trinity Drive.
Okay.
I think David does have 2 items that we'd like to discuss based off of the comments from staff as well.
Okay, sure.
My name's David Brandes with E.L. Robinson Engineering. Two things we wanted to discuss. We wanted to point out that in the agenda, it mentioned 193. Jonathan correctly mentioned it was 210, and in the write-up is 210, so we didn't want to make sure we noted that difference. 2 items in the comments we wanted to make sure we were clarified. First one, the fire rating of walls less than 5 feet. I'm on page 1 of 2. We would like to make sure that it's recognized that the code requires a 10-foot separation between buildings. We have some 0 lot lines on the sides, but we don't have any buildings closer than 10 feet. So if amenable to everyone, we'd like to add to that fire rating of walls less than 5 feet to the property lines shall have the required fire separation of 10 feet. The reason we would ask that, we don't really want to move the property lines from what you're seeing today because we don't want to have to come back. And if working with the building official, if he does require us to move that property line, which we have space to do, we wouldn't want to have to come back to Planning Commission. Any questions on that comment?
No, I would just defer to staff on how's the best way to handle that comment, or,
I don't think that would be that's regulated by the building code.
Right.
And I believe that those lot lines shift due to the building code as long as the units didn't increase, then that would be done administratively.
right, okay.
So you want to ensure that you will ensure there's 10 feet between each building?
Correct. We wouldn't be able to get a building permit without it. That's correct. Yeah.
Understood.
But there's more than one way. We could have a 0 lot line and then spacing of 10 feet, or we could have a 5-foot lot on either side of the exterior of the townhome. So there's more than one way to comply. We don't want to get locked in to having to have 5 feet of property line adjacent to the townhome.
Understood.
Does that make sense, Mr. Dinkins? I still see some, perhaps.
Can they do a 0 lot line?
Yes. In fact, there are 5 townhomes in one unit, each connected. The middle townhome has a 0 lot line all the way through, so the sides could have a 0 lot line as well.
I'm sorry, just for clarification, so if I have 5 townhomes together and the next building over, then would be only 5 feet apart?
It
from the
would be
next building?
required by fire code to be 10 feet.
Okay,
And all exterior walls have to be from building to building at least 10 feet apart.
okay.
In our case, we're 20 feet apart, but the code requires a minimum of 10.
Okay, thank you.
The second question we'd like to talk about is under the street divisions. We have some parallel parking spaces in the lower portion of the project up against Trinity. They're the interior roads. We'd like, instead of remove parallel parking spaces are located in the road right away, we'd like to add a sentence to that saying, if required by street division during full plan production, or full plan approval. It's really difficult for us to take a parallel parking space and put it outside the right of way. Our width of our road is 28 feet, and then we have to the 25-foot right-of-way space. And if we put the parallel space outside of that, we're then going to have some dead asphalt between it, and we're worried that people will end up head-in parking. We recognize the issue. If street division during construction says, nope, I still don't want the parallel spaces, we'll remove them. But we'd like the option to be able to have that when we go to full construction plan approval.
Is that in our purview, Lucinda? And I mean, wouldn't that be David's department?
That's their that's their comment, is that the spaces not be there.
Okay.
So if if the developer is wanting to have those spaces there, then I would believe that their recommendation would be recommend denial of the plan, because those parking spaces do not meet the requirements of their regulations.
My argument is that you would never have parallel parking spaces anywhere in the city if that was a requirement. There'd be no way you could take parallel spaces along a road and then put them outside of the public right-of-way unless you put the public right-of-way at the edge of the travelway and the inside of the parallel parking space. So I'm in my mind as an engineer, I don't think the street division has thought all the way through this comment. However, if it's required today and you say, no, that's going to require denial, then we'll remove that and we'll just remove the parallel parking spaces.
Do you pick up or gain in these places? And what's your loss or gain of parking spaces with it being parallel and not parallel, I guess?
We don't have room to make them non-parallel, so we would lose, I'm not sure the exact number. Can you count those real quick? Somewhere around 10.
It's like 12.
12, yeah. So it's not a big deal.
Right.
You know, if you say, no, you got to have that condition or not have that condition today, we'll say, we'll press on. But we would like the option to, if in full plan approval, street division changes their mind, we'd like at least that option. Right now, if you put this as a condition of approval, we don't have that option to discuss it with them.
Do you meet the required parking with all spots located on the property and not including any in the right
Yeah,
of
we
way?
meet all parking. Parking is 2 units, 2 spaces per unit. We have a garage and a driveway that meets that. But as you know, in all these developments, parking becomes a problem. So we have quite a few additional parkings for visitors, and that's why we've added these. You know, and honestly, I'll tell you straight out, people are going to park there anyway. We put a sidewalk there, people are going to park there anyway. So we'd like to actually stripe it for parking so that it keeps people from parking on the sidewalks.
Just as a comment, as the developer that will be doing the project, and this is, if it's something that is, the commission is not going to approve, that's fine. But it is, we think it's a value add to the project to be able to have additional parking. That's something that's important to us for our buyers that we consider, especially in townhome developments.
So you're comfortable with a recommendation that all parking must be contained on the private property?
If that's what it is, that, you know, we'll live with that. Yes.
All right.
John, you're saying that if we add in the comment, then it would be against what was recommended by staff, or it would make
Right.
it.
Staff recommended approval based upon the comments that were provided, based upon meeting the ordinance requirements, and the plan didn't meet the ordinance requirements for those parallel parking spaces, so staff recommended that those not be there. The other thing is that, you know, if the applicant is wanting to have the extra parking, which they do have some extra parking, you know, they don't have to be parallel spaces. They may be able to reconfigure their plan in order to put in 90-degree parking, but they may end up losing units, but that is an option.
Sure.
Yeah, I think at this point, we'd lose the spaces.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, the spaces aren't required. You know, I understand it's probably nice to have for selling units and that sort of thing, but I think for my purposes, I would likely not go against what staff has recommended as comments on the plan that at the end of the day, the staff needs to approve as well.
That's fine, we appreciate it.
Any other questions regarding the site plan or?
Are we good on the 5 foot? Are we, I know we talked about parking, but the previous comment.
I think that's how it's up.
All right.
Yeah.
Good with that.
Anybody else have any further questions for the applicant? Hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone here that would like to speak for or against the project? I'll open it up to public comment period. Yes, sir. Please state your full name and address for the record, please. And you'll have 2 minutes to speak.
My name is Franklin Dubose. I live on Sunview Drive, which is in one neighborhood away from this proposed neighborhood project. And we've been to a presentation by members of the development group, and we had the impression it was going to be primarily housing for the area. But today I get the impression with the general commercial, it could be used for something other than housing. Is that true, or am I misinterpreting it?
Are you speaking of the same case? Because what they're presenting is all housing.
It is?
Yes, sir. No,
Okay.
no general commercial. It's all
Okay.
residential housing, right? Yeah.
Well, the only thing I would like for the Planning Commission to consider is that we need additional turn lanes on the road that runs from Leesburg to Garner's Ferry, adjacent on the, I guess that would be the northwest side of this property. There's a road called Greenview
Yes,
and
sir.
also Caroline. And Caroline runs right next to Walmart. That's on one side of this development, and the other Greenview is on the right-hand side, which runs parallel, well, between Leesburg Road and Garner's Ferry. That area has two-lane roads, and they intersect with Garner's Ferry, which is a heavily traveled road. The one on Greenview does not have a right turn only lane. It does have a left turn lane. But with additional traffic coming out of this development, with 300 homes in that area, or whatever the figure is going to be, times 300 cars per day, 2 trips per day, the road can't currently handle that load, I don't think. It needs to be improved upon to provide the turning lane on the Garner's Ferry to come towards Columbia. The roadway itself is just not in very good shape. It'd be nice if that road were 3 lanes with a turning lane in the middle, so residents and occupants of that area could get into their parking lot or their driveways without fear of someone running into the rear of them. So please keep that in the mind of the planning department. Don't overbill if the roads can't handle it. And don't wait until it's already completed to start doing the road improvement. So it needs to be in the planning up front.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, yes, sir.
Derek Durrett, 1491 Caroline Road. First off, I'd like to support what he was saying with the extra traffic and the lanes. That made a lot of sense. My question is, has anyone considered like the ecological effect this is going to have on the neighborhood? Because you're tearing down a lot of woods. There's like family of deer. There's foxes, who knows what's living in there. There's all types of animals, insects. If you clear that out, where are they gonna go? Except into people who already live in the neighborhood, in their backyards, in their homes. Has anyone considered that?
That would be something we'd have to defer to the applicant, but they're meeting standard guidelines for this type of development to have green space and those sorts of open spaces still available within the development.
So I'm not sure what that means. Like, once they tear down the woods and I get more rats and things like that, there's nothing I can do about that.
I
It's
don't have an answer for you on that one.
does it have any bearing on the planning of this development?
Sure. Staff.
I mean, has it been considered, like, the effect it's going to have on the neighborhood? I don't know, I'm late, I'm sorry.
Can you speak to the development
the-
criteria?
Yeah, there are requirements for open space, so not all of the land will be developed as housing. Some of the area will be preserved, like some of the trees.
Okay.
And there'll be some walking trails through there, so some of the area will be preserved, so the entire 25 acres won't be developed as housing.
About how much percentage?
I believe it's about, it's a lot.
From the applicant, do y'all know your green space count?
It's 25% open space.
They're looking at about, it says 6.3 acres of open space.
Okay.
6.3, what percentage is that? I don't know how much the. 25 acres.
Yeah, so 25% is required, and they're preserving about 40%, looks like.
Okay. So they're meeting the minimum requirements for the land development.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So traffic study required?
There was, and it was done.
There is a traffic impact study that was completed for this project.
And that should have,
It indicated
Recommended.
no off-site improvements.
okay.
I don't know that it went all the way to Garner's Ferry for the study area, but it might not have been required to go that
If it
far.
meets the DOT requirements in the cities, then I don't
Right.
know what else.
All right, is there anyone else here from the general public that would like to speak for or against the project? Seeing none, we'll give the applicant you're good, applicant's good. Okay. We'll close the public comment period.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just acknowledge for the record that you guys should have received an email yesterday. We did have one email come through about this project, so just to put that into the record, for EMCEL@sc.r.com. Okay, so you
Yes,
received that.
received.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
All right, are there any other questions?
I had a question for staff regarding the 10-foot separation for the firewalls. Is it in our purview to require the 10 feet separation, but not allow, or in lieu of the 5-foot separation between property lines?
I believe that's it's going to be a building code requirement and handled by the building code.
Okay.
Good. All right, if there's no further questions, I will accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve S-Plat 2023-0008, 25.35 acres, Trinity Drive, 1458 and 1482 Carolina Road, as written with staff comments.
Got a motion, we approve as written with staff comments. Going to get a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? The ayes have it. The motion is approved.
And since case number 6 was deferred, the last case on the agenda this evening is the zoning text amendment, which is TA-2023-0004. Request to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 17, Article 4, use regulations to add additional uses to the permitted use table for the employment campus zoning district. And we don't have slides for this because it's, just the use table in the ordinance, but
Right.
I believe you have that in your packet.
All right. Does anybody from the city need to present anything? I don't think so, but
Only if you guys have questions.
are there any questions regarding this case for staff? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to,
Mr. Chairman, sorry, just to make sure, in case there's anybody from the public.
Okay, yeah, we'll
Oh, yeah,
open it up.
public.
We'll open it up to public comment. Is there anybody from the general public here that would like to speak for or against case number 7? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll close public comment period, and I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the zoning text amendment TA-2023-004 to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 17, Article 4, use regulations to add additional use to the permitted use table for the EC zoning district.
Got a motion that we approve. Can I get a second?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? The ayes have it. The motion is approved. All right, is there any other business?
The only thing I just wanted to mention is if, I sent y'all an email about the Richland County planning opportunity for next Friday. If anybody wants to go, if you could just let me know so that I could let them know who's coming. So,
I know that I cannot attend that particular day.
I
Tied up on
cannot.
the 18th, so.
anyone going to go? Okay, great. You might try, okay. I'll just tell them that we plan on having 2 planning commission members. Okay, great. It is, yes, thanks.
All right, well, if there's no other business, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion, second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? The motion carries, we are adjourned. Thank you.